Hello and welcome to a brief summary overview of the book of Genesis. So, Genesis starts with God ordering creation to become his cosmic tabernacle. Now, people say Genesis 1 and 2 are two different creation stories. But if you actually read what it says, and actually paid attention and knew ancient ways of writing things, Genesis chapter 1 is a zoomed out picture of things. Genesis chapter 2 is a zoomed in. This is an account of the heavens and the earth when they were created. So, what happened when they were created? And some people say it's two different gods. No, it's not. El or Elohim simply means God or gods. That's not a different God. Oh, it's like other myths. That doesn't mean anything either. First thing, no, it's not. Second thing, even if it was, that doesn't mean it's false. There's this ship called the Titan. Go look it up. They haven't any lower enough lifeboats. It sunk because it struck an iceberg in the Labrador Sea. Because of the Labrador Current. Not the Labrador Sea. But yeah, because of the Labrador Current, south of Newfoundland. There's so many other similarities to the Titanic. But does that make the Titanic a fictional story? No! Anyway, so that's creation. And then we have Adam and Eve. And the fall of man. And some people thinks the serpent didn't lie. Yes, he did. He manipulated and tricked Eve. First by saying, did God really say to you, you must not eat from any tree in the garden? Like, did he really say this? Also, you must not eat from any tree in the garden. What did God say? You may eat from all the trees of the garden besides this one. So, the serpent is already putting a doubt in Eve's mind, causing her to think. And what did Eve say? We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God says, you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden. You must not touch it. And you must not touch it, or you will die. God didn't say anything about touching it. He didn't. He didn't say anything about touching it. He just says, do not eat from the tree. Now, here's the thing about the tree. It's not the tree of knowledge. It's not the tree of knowing things. Not like the tree of science. Atheist, every time you call it the tree of knowledge, you sound like a cult. Because cults are like, no, this tree contains secret knowledge. That if it was the tree of knowledge, then Adam already knew things before then. That God existed since he was talking to him. That he created him. That he created Eve. that he created the garden, that animals exist, what the animals' names are. Because Adam was the one who named them. Already knew what Eden looked like. He already had knowledge. So if it's just the tree of knowledge, no. He already knew about all the angels and such. And another thing this proves, this isn't just a talking snake. This is some fallen angel engaging in a rebellion. Now, I know like the Jewish way of interpreting this, like, oh no, there's not like a rebellion going on. So, God wanted Eve and Adam to eat the fruit? Or... no. I mean, he's allowing them free will, but that doesn't mean he wants them to eat the fruit. Anyway, what does the snake say? You will not surely die. Now, so many people are like, yeah, they didn't die because they didn't die as soon after they ate the fruit. God never said that death would be imminent. Like that. God said, you will die. Yes. Yes. But you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat of it, you will surely die. You will die eventually. Now, it's not as obvious in modern day. It sounds like, oh, it will be imminent. No, in the Hebrew, has no sense of imminency. It's just, you will surely die. You will die. You will not be immortal anymore. Like, oh, no. The serpent's like, oh, no. You won't die at all. Let alone imminently. So, they eat the fruit, which they get, basically meaning they get to define what good and evil is for themselves, not what God laid out for them. And also, notice something. They're already twisting God's words by adding stuff to it about touching the tree. So, they eat the fruit. Adam does absolutely nothing. And as soon as Adam is called out for it, he blames Eve. Adam is honestly like all humans. Don't we always want to blame someone else for our own mistakes? He ate of the fruit. He did nothing to try to stop Eve from eating the fruit. Or stop the serpent in any way, shape, or form. So, he curses them. And, of course, he cursed the serpent. And then there's verse 15. And I will put an enemy between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. Again, the typical Jewish interpretation is, oh, this is all humankind overcoming the temptations of evil. All humankind has repeatedly failed over and over and over again. David, did he overcome the serpent's temptation? No. Solomon, did he? Asked one of his hundreds of wives. What did Isaiah say? I am a man of unclean lips in a generation of unclean lips. He was chosen to be a prophet. A prophet of God. And what was the first thing he said when he saw the glory of God? I'm not worthy. Don't you think he kept the law? Of course he did. So, there's also the fact that in Hebrew, every single word besides hers is singular. Not like a grand human thing. Also, her seed. Usually, when seed is used in the Old Testament, it refers to the seed of a man. Children are the seed of a man. This is being used as the seed of the woman. A lot of people like to say this is evidence of a virgin birth. Oh, but it translates. It says young woman. Young woman and virgin mean the same thing back then. I know you people can't imagine a young woman not sleeping around every single day, but I can guarantee a massive majority don't. Weirdos. Also, what would be crushing his head? Just not sinning? Every inclination in the human heart is wicked. Also in Genesis. And you will strike his heel. What is the striking of his heel? Adam has already fallen. Death? No, it wasn't the serpent that killed Adam. It was the consequences of his sin. Yes, the serpent got him to sin. But it was still Adam's own free will. Though it's the suffering of Israel. Most of the time when Israel is suffering, it's because of its own sins. Yet again. This is the first inclination of Jesus. And now notice something after. After Jesus came around, why are the curses? I will greatly increase your pains of childbearing. Okay. With pain you will give birth to your children. We have so many ways now where we can ease the pain of childbearing and the worry of childbearing. People don't have to worry that their kid might die in infancy or childhood. And then, yes, curses the ground because of you. Through painful toil will you eat of it all the days of your days of your life. We have so much technology where we don't need painful toil. Yes, it's still hard, but it's nowhere near as hard as it was back then. Modern day farmers get to use a tractor to plow their fields. Back then you had an ox if you were lucky. If not, you had a hoe and you had to, do it yourself with the hoe. Modern day farmers have things that can harvest automatically. Back then, you had to go through in the hot Israeli sun and pluck individually all your stuff. We have pesticides. They didn't. We have fertilizer. They kind of did, sort of. We had so many ways to make sure the crop grows perfectly every single time. They didn't. We have sprinklers just in case it doesn't rain for months on end. They didn't. In every single way back then, it was harder. But after Jesus came, it gets a whole lot easier. It's like the curse is beginning to unravel. Okay, and here's another little thing. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. Thorns and thistles. Jesus had a crown of thorns placed on his head. He was wearing the curse. And a lot of people say the church was born when Christ was dying in pains. In pain, the church was born. Jesus took on the curse. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and dust you will return. Return to the ground. Jesus was buried in the cave. He was returned to the ground. Then he came back. He broke the curse. So, but then here's the thing. The Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife, and clothed them. He covered their nakedness, their shame. And what illusion does Jesus and the church use? Covering our nakedness and our shame and our sin with robes of white. There were going to be consequences for Adam and Eve. But doesn't mean God doesn't love them. And then, there's a little weirdness of the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and also take from the tree of life, or he will live forever. So no, God's not like scared that man will overthrow him. First, one of us. I don't think he really by the angels, One of us. In other words, man has decided it is right for him and her to make their own decisions on what good and evil are. And who knows how many evil things he will do, or she will do, if they live forever. Think of all the evils that have been done. Now think of the person doing the evils. Could it die? Or we could just lock them up for how long before they escape? We can't keep them forever, most likely. Yeah, imagine now no one could die. World War II would just be an eternal battle. World War I would be. Any war would be. And you know they would happen. Anyway, so yes, left the garden, drove them east, out the east side of the Garden of Eden. Then we have Cain and Abel. Cain, jealous of his brother. Cain, instead of just giving sacrifice to the Lord, having a relationship with his brother, decides to kill him because of its jealousy. Now notice something here. Cain does not get the death penalty. What does Cain did? Get a mark of Cain. Now there's a lot of racists who think this means Cain is cursed. No! It's if Cain gets killed by somebody, they get killed next because murder is bad. The mark of Cain isn't a curse. But then we have someone taking the curse, Limich, saying if Cain is avenged 7 times, then Limich 70 times. He's taking God's mercy twisting it into an excuse for him to kill thousands of people. And like, look, I should be avenged even more. So, yeah, that messed up. And no, this doesn't have to be the same lineage that with the father of Noah. Why? People can have more than one person can have the same name. Also, how did 3 boys become all the people around today? Well, most Christians, well, no, I wouldn't say most. There are the different views of Christianity. Old Order creationism, Young Earth creationism, and evolutionary theism. Where evolutionary theism says there's other humans on the planet. But this doesn't need that to be answered. Because, yes, Adam lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. After Seth was born. Chapter 5, verse 4 of Genesis utterly debunks that line of reasoning. It's proof that people who bring up this objection just don't read and hear an objection and think it's true. Okay, anyway. So, from Adam to Noah, a lot of people think these dates could be literal, could be figurative for long life or some other accomplishment, because a lot of people did back then, they didn't really care for how long someone actually lived. They want to put some truth or ideal out there. Anyway, then we get to the flood. Now, the flood. Noah's flood. What it probably was this Persian Gulf flood that happened near the end of the last glacial maximum. So we have people living in what used to be, or what is now, the Persian Gulf, have some evidence that there are people who lived there all those thousands of years ago. And when it flooded, God just simply warned a guy named Noah to build a boat. He built the boat and lived because of the wickedness everyone else did. Now, also, the Nephilim. It has nothing to. It doesn't technically say the Nephilim were the sons of the sons of God and the daughter of women. It doesn't necessarily say that. And the reason for the flood for was how great man's wickedness on the earth became. But conspiracy theories will try to wrap this up into one thing, like saying the flood was because the fallen angels seeing naked women and NASA's trying to show them naked women again. Yeah, I'm not kidding. There's conspiracy theories about that. Also, another thing about the flood, some people say it's the Black Sea deluge, which that theory has some problems of its own, but that caused the Genesis flood account. Why would it be the Black Sea deluge and not, an event that happened more closer to Israel? I don't know. But the Black Sea deluge does bring up another interesting point. There's numerous flood stories all around the earth. The Persian Gulf flood probably is the origin of all the ones around the Middle East. And Noah's stories, with all the other truths of the Bible, is most likely the one that's the most accurate. And yes, most likely and stuff, because this is history. You can only get to a certain point based on writings and such. But anyway, there were all of the Great Lakes moving around and changing. That probably started some flood stories. Not Caribbean, the Chesapeake Bay. Oh yeah, those big glacial lakes in the western United States that broke loose. That started something. If you were able to see that, just this massive wall of water from a lake bigger than Lake Michigan just going by you. Yeah. So, I don't know, it's kind of this local global thing hypothesis. Maybe. There probably were other flooding events. Yeah, the Mediterranean, but I don't think that one happened when humans were around the Mediterranean basin, though, or even around. So yes, there were these large-scale flooding areas. People probably lived in these river basins where it was nice and lush, and then when the glaciers retreated and started melting, the areas kind of flooded a little bit, and stories got passed down. Anyway, the covenant for Noah, yes. Whoever sheds the blood of a man, by man shall his blood be shed, because for in the image of God has God made man. So chapter 9 verse 6 is why people like to use the death penalty. But I like to point out Cain was the first murderer, and he was not killed. It was prohibited that he was going to be killed. The death penalty is only in place because of how wicked men became. Most likely because of Limich, who went on a murdering spree, and then said, I should be avenged even more! I should be honored because I killed all these people. For no reason. Yes, I established my covenant. Never again will all life be cut off by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. Now, it's never again will there not be a flood. No, a flood to destroy the earth and kill so many things. So this could be used to say the ice caps won't melt and be as catastrophic as possible, or it means we can easily adapt now and build like seawalls and stuff, and we don't have to worry about like Chesapeake growing like 5 times or the San Francisco Valley becoming the new San Francisco Bay. Yes, and the rainbow. It's the rainbow covenant. The sons of Noah. Oh yes, the curse of Cain. Now we have no idea what Ham did. It doesn't really say. Also, it doesn't have God approving or disproving or even being called to curse Cain. Also, Noah did this when he was drunk. Also, this kind of parallels the Adam story, saying even after this, man is still wicked, man is still corrupt, man needs a savior. Now, the New Testament likes to allude that the flood was like a baptism. Where the baptism is a symbol of moving towards God. And yeah, in a way, things started getting wicked. God found Noah, and then it's kind of the flood where the first steps to the final plan is. Now, of course, Jesus also calls himself the door, because through him, all are saved. All. Noah and his 3 kids. His 3 kids are known for the races of the earth in the Table of Nations. Now, does that mean everyone's descended from them? Not necessarily. Doesn't even mean all of these people are descended from them, because son of could just simply mean an adoption or a treaty. You will notice this in pre-Bronze Age or Bronze Age writings, where they will refer to some king, my father or my brother, and they really aren't. So yes, that's the Table of Nations. So, this curse of Cain most likely was fulfilled in a way when the Jews took Canaan. Yeah. Another thing, it has no bearing on today. So, Table of Nations. Then we have the Tower of Babel, which was most likely a ziggurat, which its people built to, like, look at us and how awesome we are. We can go right up to heaven and talk to God or overthrow God or whatever inside God, even though we did nothing or nothing has been done to us. And think about how many people know a second language outside the United States, of course. Again, another curse seems to be unraveling. Like, we've been to space. Yeah, but it wasn't for the same arrogant reasons. We kind of just sort of like, what's up here? And plus, we have the technology to make it easier. Abraham, whatever. So Terah. Okay, if you go watch Ancient Egypt in the Bible, he has this video where we do have someone named Terah from an Ur. But this Ur is north of Israel, and it's kind of where he was king. So that would kind of, if this is right Ur, that would kind of explain why Abraham had all these men with him. So yes, Abraham leaves as the Lord told him. He was 75 years old. We learned in Acts that Terah is already dead when he leaves. Although it doesn't say in Genesis. Acts proves that there at least most likely was among the Jewish community an idea that Terah was dead. Yes, he goes to Egypt. Abram. The second part, the person who's going to bring forth the Messiah through his seed, the beginning of Jerusalem. The beginning of the Israelite people, the beginning of God's redemption plan, the beginning of Judaism. Yeah, because I don't consider like everything up till verse 12 Judaism. It's like the religion of Noah, Adam and Eve, Yahwehism maybe. I don't know. Yes, he goes to Egypt. He lies about his wife. The Egyptians get mad. Abram and Lot separate. Abram rescues Lot. Oh yes, there's Melchizedek, which Abraham, he brings out bread and wine. Abraham tithes to him. He's called the King of Peace. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. He is a king and a priest. Jesus is a king and a priest. Nowhere in Judaism is there a priest king? Because the king comes from the tribe of Judah, and the priests come from the tribe of Levi. But there was a Yahweh worshippers, where they had a king and a priest king. And there's nothing wrong with it. Yes, Sodom and Gomorrah. Yes, the Suzerain Treaty, where God goes, if I break this treaty, let my body be like that. Like these birds. If you break this treaty, let my body be like that. That's not how suzerainty should go. It's the lesser that goes through. It's like, if I break this treaty, let my body become like that. God was the only one that went through it. Meaning, he would take the ultimate punishment. And how many times has Israel broken the treaty? They all have, all over the place. Yes, there were punishments for Israel. But what about when they repented? Oh, then there were no punishments, even though they broke the treaty. Yes. And even though Abraham broke the treaty. Yes. But that was going to be paid for later on. Yeah, and now some kings. Melchizedek, Hagar, and Ishmael. Like, you will have a son. Immediately Abraham messes up. It's not likely the Ishmaelites actually are the father of the Arabs, potentially. But, oh well. The covenant of circumcision. Yes, in a circumcision of the heart. That's what's needed. The three visitors. One is clearly God. The other two are probably just angels. Talking about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Which nothing really came of that, right? There's people saying, yeah, it's probably Sodom and Gomorrah. The other people, no, it's not because of these reasons. Nothing came of it. There's your update. Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. Lot and his daughters. The mess up origins of that. Abraham does it again. Like, no, this is not my wife. Isaac, Ishmael and Hagar sent away. But Ishmael gets promised to be turned into a great nation. The Treaty of Bathsheba. Which, yes, the one with Isaac can just be like reconfirming, you know, we did this with your father, let us do it again. Oh yes, Genesis chapter 22. This is what a lot of people have problems with. Yes, take your son, your only son, but he's not his only son. Ishmael is his other son. And God promised to turn him into a great nation because of Ishmael was Abraham's son. Yes, sacrificing your children were a thing at the time. Now this is just a test to make sure Abraham really is loyal. Why would he do that? I don't know, maybe because I don't trust you to bring Eve through my wife Sarah. So, yeah. Also, we have a lot of obvious angel of the Lord being God, because God says this, then the angel of the Lord says the exact same thing. God says he will do it. The angel of the Lord says he'll do it. God said this, angel of the Lord. I said this. But this is a parallel to God giving his only son up for all. Yes. Oh, yes. And sometimes later, Abraham was told by some guy, some person, who knows, about Rachel. Or no, not Rachel, Rebecca. Some people use this, mainly Muslims, to say that Rebecca was a young girl. By young girl, I mean young girl. Not like, oh, 26 or maybe 19. No. Like 5. Yeah. No. This just tells us when Abraham heard. First, Abraham had to go to this place. Don't know how long that took. Secondly, don't know how long it took the person to find him. He probably left maybe around the time of the birth of Isaac or Ishmael being sent away, and went to him. And then at some point, Abraham was tested, and he might have been like, oh, Abraham's not here. I'll wait then. Because we don't know how many years have been between Genesis chapter 21 and 22, or any of these events. Again, Sarah dies, the tomb, which becomes the tomb of the patriarchs, Isaac and Rebecca. Now, even if Rebecca's this little girl, which I doubt, this is a descriptive thing that is happening. It's not prescriptive. It's not saying it should happen. This is purely descriptive. But yes, you know the story of that. Abraham dies. The sons of Ishmael. Why the sons of Ishmael? Why would they be included? Because God is bringing all nations into this. If we go back to the table of nations and see who God's making a covenant with, and by all blessing all nations, literally before that it's the table of nations, so you can tell who's being blessed. Jacob and Esau, where the older will serve the younger, where Jacob is a little thief. Isaac does the same thing his father does. Jacob gets the blessing, then runs, then gets the stairway dream, where Jesus says he's the stairway, he's the intermediary, he's the access to the Father. Jacob arrives in Pen Edom, where he lifts this massive stone. Jacob marries Leah and Rachel. Then we have the tribes of Israel being born. Then Jacob's flocks increase. Jacob flees. Lebanon pursues Jacob. Rachel has this little lying thing where, like, no, I didn't steal any idols. Jacob meets Esau. Jacob prepares to meet Esau. Jacob wrestles with God, where he gets the name Israel. His thigh gets messed up. Not his heel, thigh. Jacob meets Esau, and the two are friends. And you got Diana and the Shechemites are at the very end. Jacob said, "You have brought trouble on me by making me a stench to the Canaanites and the Perizzites, the people living in the land. We are few in number, and if they join forces against me and attack me, and I and my house will be destroyed." And of course they replied, "Should we have treated our sister like a prostitute?" This is Simon and Levi that's going like, "Dad, what the frick?" And most likely after this, they were attacked because, well, they were living peaceful in the land, and then from the Canaanite perspective, just attacked a whole city for no real reason. So, yeah. So God has them leave, go to Bethel. Rachel dies, and so does Isaac. Rachel dies while giving birth to Benjamin. I guess we have Esau's descendants because the Lord does care. The rulers of Esau, Joseph's dream, and being sold into slavery by the Mennonites and the Ishmaelites were the same people. That's simple. Anyway, Judah's misadventures, Joseph's and Potiphar's wife, the cupbearer and the baker, where Joseph tells the meaning of their dreams. Yes, we have Joseph's dreams of grandeur, him having a special robe, this highly exalted position, him losing it after he's sold into slavery by his brothers, him having another kind of lower position, but then being falsely accused, and then Pharaoh's dream, Joseph in charge of Egypt, where he's brought back to this glorious state, even better than what he had before. And many people are saved because of that. Joseph's brothers go to Egypt, where Joseph, I guess, puts them through a test. The second journey, where they take Benjamin. More tests for them. Judah decides to take the place of Benjamin. Judah's sacrificial nature. Joseph makes himself known. Jacob goes to Egypt. More genealogies. How Joseph handled the famine. Ephraim and Manasseh gets adopted. 2 kids born to the daughter of a Gentile priest get adopted into the tribes of Israel. And Joseph probably also brought members of his household and stuff to worship the God of Israel. Joseph is bringing Gentiles into the fold. I guess Jacob's blessing to his sons, which probably contains some end-time prophecies. Joseph rescues his brothers and the death of Joseph. So, what is Genesis? Genesis is a 50-chapter book where God is putting his plan into motion. The first steps of his plan on the redemption of humanity after the fall. That is what Genesis is. You may go and watch all the other videos I have made about Genesis. There's also the ancient Egypt in the Bible. Inspiring Philosophy has made a lot of videos, and know that a lot of scholars will defend these events happening because they did. Oh yeah, the whole Joseph thing happened during the Hyksos dynasty. And next Saturday, we get to begin Exodus. So, yeah, that's Genesis, the beginning of God's redemption plan. See you next Saturday.